healthy. Joining us now, registered nurse and Republican Congresswoman from Tennessee, Diane Black, and a former California Insurance Commissioner and Democratic Congressman, John Garamendi. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
All right, Congresswoman, I want to start with you. One of the things that we're keeping an eye on, something that's gotten caught up in this whole fiscal cliff discussion, the issue of doctor reimbursement fees under Medicare. If nothing happens, those are going to drop by 27% come January 1st. And we know a lot of doctors are already limiting the number of Medicare patients they'll take in. If they don't get those reimbursements dollars up, what happens next?
You know, this is the reason why we need to get very serious about doing a reform on our Medicare, because we know that we're not going to cut doctors by 27%. If we were to do that, there would be no access for our seniors, and that's definitely not what we want to do. We have come to the table with a program that we think is very reasonable about doing some structural reform to Medicare, which has just got to happen. Otherwise, the President has the IPAB in place in his Obamacare, which is going to be a panel of 15 unelected bureaucrats who will be making those decisions about where health care will be paid for. And we know that will be on the backs of our providers, which does not help seniors to get access or quality care.
And Congressman Garamendi, as a former insurance commissioner, you probably understand these issues better than most. What about the issue of entitlement reform, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security? Should they be on the table as these discussions are going on right now?
Well, first of all, Social Security is not an imminent problem at all. In about maybe 7, 8 to 10 years, there is going to be a problem. But right now, Social Security is not even remotely connected to the current deficit. It's a separate program funded separately in its own trust fund. So that needs to be dealt with separately. With regard to Medicare and Medicaid, those programs are floating on the overall inflation rate in health care. And what we need to do, and this was a major part of the Affordable Health Care Act, was to bend the cost curve to bring down the inflation rate in health care. And in fact, in the last 2 years, the inflation rate in Medicare has been remarkably low, much to the surprise of everybody, somewhere in the 3% range. That's incredible. Part of that is due to the Affordable Health Care Act and undoubtedly to others. With regard to the doctor payments, that's an annual problem here in Washington. It started back in the early 2000s and has continued to be an annual problem. It's called the doctor fix. I guess for budgeting reasons way back when, they decided that they would only fund that increase in doctor payments for 1 year, and then every year it comes up, and every year it grows because of the general inflation in health care. It needs to be fixed permanently as part of the Medicare programs that are out there. And be very, very careful about restructuring, because restructuring is another word for what we talked about during the campaign, and that was putting ending Medicare as we know it and simply going to a voucher system. We don't want to do that, but we definitely need to deal with Medicare and the cost without changing the benefits.
That is not correct. I've got to correct my colleague. It is not a voucher program. It is a premium support. And just because you continue to say the same thing over and over again doesn't make it true. It is not a voucher program. And I want to also correct him that Social Security is not a problem. You know, we don't talk about the unfunded liabilities. We talk about $16 trillion in debt. We have $85 trillion in unfunded liabilities in Social Security, Medicare, and federal benefits for our employees. And so we don't even talk about that. They don't talk about the $1 trillion over 10 years that are additional come out of Obamacare that hit the middle class. So these are all things that they don't want to talk about. They want them off the table, but they are true, and we have to, as mature adults, be talking about the truth of what's going on in Washington.
All right,
Congressman.